Guess who?
Wait!
Well, after 4 years, Large Scale Warfare is back with the upcoming release in their iconic series in Battlefield 6. And thanks to EA Games for sponsoring this video, they asked if I'd like to get some early hands-on time with the Battlefield 6 beta to give a bit of my first impressions and thoughts, what to expect with its gameplay, and how it stacks up if you've not overly played something like this before. So with that, I thought I'd make a video on everything you need to know about Battlefield 6 to get you ready for its release on the 10th of October. Now, if you've never played a Battlefield game before, or it's been some time since you last returned to the series, Battlefield stands out with its iconic large-scale warfare, with vehicles causing chaos for infantry on the ground, where enemy tanks can block off the road and it forces you from charging up the main street to going through shops and alleyways, where large open spaces are more frightening because you're exposed to snipers off in the distance or a helicopter doing a strafing run. Now, the beta has had a handful of modes with 2 smaller map modes for quick rounds and 2 large-scale warfare options, giving you a sense of scale of what's in store here. And that's exactly what Battlefield's iconic mode Conquest provides, a large map where each team has a respawn counter that slowly ticks down over the course of the round. Now, there are outposts or capture points that you'll need to capture, attack, and defend. And if your team has control over majority or all of the capture points, the enemy team respawn counter will start to lower at a faster rate. So the game mode is overall capture and hold multiple points, with variables such as tanks, helicopters, jets, as well as general enemy infantry, all causing the same sort of chaos and all trying to do the same thing. The other main game mode I actually kind of preferred is Breakthrough, which uses the same map as Conquest, but the gameplay and flow is more structured rather than the capture and hold style of Conquest. But Breakthrough is an attacking team needs to capture and hold a point while defenders just hold their ground. Defenders have unlimited respawns, where attackers have a set amount. Now, once the attackers capture and hold the relevant points, the defenders then need to fall back and defend a new point, while the attacking team continues their charge. Now, unlike the tug of war that Conquest provides, once the attacking team have captured the relevant points and pushed the defending team back, the defenders can then not go back and recapture that point. Once they've lost it, they've lost it. They then need to defend the new points. If you, however, prefer no vehicles and you just want tight combat, Domination is where it's at, which acts similar to Conquest, where 2 opposing teams need to capture and hold 3 different locations in a small map. Now, as the mode is smaller, the maps are tighter and destruction in the world plays more of a role here, which I'll come back to a bit later on. But the kicker here is with Domination is that when you die, the respawn times here are near instant, where in the larger game modes you do need to wait a little bit before jumping back into the action. And if you just want to do a quick round or 2, you might not have the time to sit back and actually do a game of Conquest because you might need to get up and go somewhere. Game modes like Domination quickly fill that gap perfectly. Now, the other game mode available here in the beta as well is just the King of the Hill mode, which is similar to Domination in that you capture and hold a point until that point is then resets to somewhere new on the map, and then both teams try to rush and do the same thing. It's pretty similar. But Battlefield stands out for its massive, large-scale maps with tanks, jets, helicopters, combat vehicles, but most importantly, Battlefield is a team-based shooter. If you are playing with a group of mates, you generally need to stick together, call out where you're going, what do you see, what capture points are being taken by enemies. Battlefield isn't just about who can get the highest kills and spreading yourself thin like you're not enough butter on a piece of toast. Battlefield has always been about playing the objective and playing as a team and working together. And if you're playing as a team, it's a good thing that there's 4 classes to choose from, each with their own signature abilities, different playstyles, and general class-specific weapons. You've got the standard assault class, which as the game states, is the tip of the spear in attacks, and yeah, it kinda is. This class is all about dealing damage, disrupting the enemy front line, and being a little bit of a jack of all trades. Now, the assault class starts with an assault rifle as their primary weapon, but one of the special abilities that the assault class has is they can hold 3 weapons in total. So rather than having a primary and a sidearm, the assault can carry 2 primary weapons, such as a assault rifle for medium range combat, and then a shotgun for when you're running through the inside of shops and you want to get a bit close, as well as a pistol for when you need it.
Looks like that guy just killed you.
As well as that, the Assault class also has a simple quick-fire grenade launcher, which works great for flushing enemies out of cover, or by simply removing the cover, and finally they have access to an Adrenaline Shot, which will boost their sprint speed, reduce explosive damage, and make things like hearing footsteps a little bit easier. If you prefer vehicle combat, whether that's repairing allied vehicles or disrupting and destroying enemy ones, the Engineer will be what you're after. The primary weapon they start off with is a submachine gun, which rips at close range, and each other class available here does have the standard sidearm pistol, but the class abilities and equipment is what you're after here. You'll have a blowtorch that will repair allied vehicles and, funnily enough, devastate enemy vehicles, and I gotta say, it is kind of funny taking out an enemy tank with a blowtorch. But the Engineer also has the option for anti-vehicle outside of the blowtorch, with the option to use an RPG for ground vehicles like tanks, combat jeeps, and transport vehicles, and I personally found the RPG is brilliant for taking out those annoying snipers who just sit back and pop shots at you.
Big dog, let's go to work.
Honestly, it is so satisfying to hit a sniper with an RPG at long range, but the Engineer also has surface-to-air missiles for taking out helicopters and jets, which yes, come in handy when you've got an annoying helicopter making strafing runs, and when you take down a jet with a rocket launcher, you feel pretty satisfied. If you prefer to sit back and take pot shots off at enemies making the push, or you want to maybe provide some support to your helicopters and tanks and jets, the Sniper can sit back and take out those pesky Engineers who are trying to actually target your air support. Now, out of all the classes available, I found the Recon is the hardest to use, but it is the most rewarding. Now obviously a Sniper class uses the sniper rifle as their standard weapon, but they've also got access to a respawn beacon. Now when you die in these big game modes, soldiers will respawn at their sort of respawn captured bases, so if you've captured a point you can respawn there. You can respawn on a teammate if they're not in combat, or you can respawn back at your headquarters if you've got nowhere to spawn. But if you've got a respawn beacon down, you can actually respawn on that point. Now, this comes in handy because if you're a sniper, you've got a good vantage point and you want to stay in that area, you can place the beacon down there and then just respawn at that vantage point. The Recon class also has access to a motion tracker device that can be placed down and used as a warning in case you have, say, an assault class sprinting and pushing towards your location, which, yeah, an assault class with a shotgun in a close range fight with a sniper rifle is not going to go down too well. But you need to watch out though, because snipers in this game, they do give off a lens flare when you're aiming down the scopes. It does actually give away your position a little bit, which when I was the Engineer basically told me where I'm aiming my RPGs. Finally though, the Recon class has access to a remote C4 explosive, which are devastating against tanks, but the Recon class is also the nightmare fuel for my preferred class, which is the class that keeps everyone alive. Now as I'm not the greatest shot, and I shouldn't really be leading a charge, this is kind of my preferred class as support. The support class supports your immediate squad as well as your overall team or faction in general. Their main weapons are light machine guns, which helps give covering fire or suppression to enemies, making a push, but their gadgets are what makes them. Firstly, in this beta, they've got access to a deployable shield, giving you and your team some cover, which comes in handy if you're trying to block up a choke point in an alley, but their main class ability is a resupply bag that obviously resupplies allies with ammo, as well as special ammo such as rockets for RPGs, but they can also heal allies faster, as the health system here in Battlefield 6 is a recharge over time, and if you're on the proximity of a support's resupply bag, you will heal faster. But the main gadget that comes in handy for the support class is the defibrillators, which allow you to instantly revive fallen allies. Now whether that's in your immediate squad or allied soldiers in general who are sitting there waiting for a medic. But as the support class is used as the team medic, you can find yourself instantly getting targeted by snipers, as without a support class nearby to keep allies alive, teams can push a little too hard and crumble if they've got no one behind them to keep them topped up. Now, all of these classes work well together and complement each other in one way or another. Snipers can call out what they see from the backline on the field to give allies the heads up that, hey, there's a helicopter circling around Capture Point Bravo, or there's a tank coming down the main street. Engineers can obviously keep vehicles topped up and repaired and then take down enemy vehicles, and support works great to keep everyone supplied and alive while the assault does all the pushing. What I found though is with Battlefield 6, especially in its beta, is the option of weapons available here and the option with the classes. Now each class in Battlefield has a preferred weapon. Now obviously the Recon's going to be the sniper rifle, the support prefers to use the LMGs, however you can swap the weapons out and around. Now personally I found myself using a shotgun for the support class because I was getting too distracted finding and taking out enemies rather than focusing on keeping my team alive, and I found the shotgun worked for me to focus on my team and provide immediate support in close range fights. But each weapon here in Battlefield 6's beta feels unique. Now I was playing this with a mate of mine who was honestly raging pretty damn hard, but when he swapped out his starting assault rifle for one that he recently just unlocked, he found he was enjoying the gameplay a bit more and things were feeling a bit more fair in its gunfights. Now, speaking of swapping out weapons, the option for attachments and weapon modifications here in Battlefield 6 feels pretty damn extensive, where you can actually change out what ammo your gun uses. You can swap out the buckshot in your shotgun for slugs, basically making it a rifle. And here, if you equip, say, a long-range scope to your LMG, you can then equip a side-mounted iron sights for close quarters, which kinda had me feeling like John Wick. But what really impressed me with the guns and the options for attachments or ammo was the firing range, where obviously you can test out your grip attachments, you can test out your scopes and your magazines, all the standard stuff. But if you want to test out a gun, the game immediately goes into the firing range with no loading screens, and that really impressed me.
And I'm not easily impressed.
What also impressed me too is the option to lean around corners and into cover, as well as the option to mount your weapon onto walls or onto cover to give you more resistance against a weapon's recoil. And when I was holding down, say, a tight alley, I found this was super handy for controlling a light machine gun and just mowing down anyone who tried to charge through. Now, what ties all of the gunplay and the gameplay together though is the environments and the immersion, with variables such as smoke grenades and smoke screens that can be used to blind enemies, which not only help you hide, but the smoke is also used to hide enemy markers, making it harder for an enemy to spot and shoot your units. Because when you look at an enemy in Battlefield 6, it comes up with a red marker above their head. The smoke screen though will make these markers not appear at all. Now, smoke is also used for a great defense against, say, snipers who are sitting back trying to take a shot at you, but if also you're on a larger map and you need to run from one side of the main street to another, where normally you might get mowed down by a tank who's just sitting there on the point, you can actually pop smoke so then you have protection to charge through to the other side of the street. Now, this isn't really a gunplay element, but more so of immersion, but there is a new drag and revive system here in Battlefield 6, where rather than just walking over to an ally and stabbing them with a revive shot out in open combat, you can actually grab your down but not out allies, drag them out of the crossfire into safety, and revive them. And from the perspective of both as someone who is reviving an ally, as well as someone who's being dragged away, it is pretty damn cool.
I'm coming, duty. Hey, baby. Come over here. I want to tell you a secret.
Now, if you're playing as a support, you'll do the drag and revive quicker than, say, a recon class, because each class here can revive someone, but the support does it quicker because they're the healing class. But you also have the option as the support to bring people back immediately using the defib unit. However, you just need to judge, am I going to drag someone out of the crossfire and revive them here, or do I just lift them back up right now and then they'll get shot again immediately in the head? It does though make the sense of immersion a bit better, being able to save allies by pulling them out of danger. Finally though, the greatest thing about Battlefield 6 though is the return to proper immersive, as well as just like that randomized destruction. Now, I won't lie, during my first round in the beta, I thought I was being clever and hiding on the second story of a shopfront, providing some Overwatch fire, and before I knew it, I was more exposed than appearing at a Coldplay concert. Where if you've got an enemy unit hiding inside of a building, you can just blow the wall out and give them nowhere to hide, or you can just bring the fucking building down on them. If you're hiding between, say, parked trucks and you've got an enemy who's trying to flank left and flank right of you, if you've got an RPG, or you've got large explosives, or you've got a mate who's in a tank, you can just go, yo dude, can you pop those trucks, and just basically lose the cover and blow them up. Now, Unlike previous Battlefield entries too, where it felt like there was this set destructible moment that kind of felt scripted, like a giant skyscraper falling or a space rocket being fired into the air, here in Battlefield 6 the destruction sort of feels natural. When you take out a jet and see it crash to the ground, it kind of feels like a cinematic moment, but it feels it's actual gameplay. It doesn't feel scripted. The best way to describe sort of how the battlefield feels in Battlefield 6, how the map kind of feels and the chaos of all the warfare, is the destruction kind of feels like it's pulled out of a Michael Bay film. Seeing a tank completely open out a wall of a building that's being used for an enemy team to hunker inside is always great, and during one round, I had most of the enemy team sitting and hiding on rooftops so they could take us out because they had the high ground. And using the grenade launcher, I simply blew out their roofs and just went, well, that's a great deterrent to bring you back down onto the ground. But with massive improvements to destructible environments, cinematic moments that are just completely random, but they are part of the general gameplay, they're not scripted, and insane environmental and atmospheric graphics, Battlefield 6 so far seems to be a pretty damn good shooter to squad up with mates. If you are interested in checking out Battlefield 6 before its launch on the 10th of October, there is another upcoming beta on the 14th through to the 17th of August. And from what I've played so far, I will be coming back on the full release. But whether you've never played a Battlefield game before or you're a seasoned veteran of the series, always remember to play with each other and play with yourself.